So please welcome back to the stage the CEO of the Global Esports Federation, Mr. Paul Foster. Oh, we got a little. Paul, welcome back to the stage. Welcome back to Singapore. Thank you so much for flying all the way from LA, because as you said earlier, you're going somewhere ridiculously far away immediately after this session. So thank you for joining us. By the way, I need to say this. Anyone at the Scape at the moment, the Web3 program is at Scape. We're talking gaming this afternoon. Tell us a little bit about. I mean, we kind of got to meet a little bit about you earlier on. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us more about the Global Esports Federation, and what is your role?
Hi. Yeah, so the Global Esports Federation was born on the 16th of December 2019 in Singapore, and we all know what happened 3 months later. The world closed. So really what that has been powered by is our capacity to connect gaming and esports with the world. And then what we think we've been able to do in those 2.5 years since then is talk to people, communicate, connect, and provide beautiful stages around the world for esports athletes to shine. And we did that at the Commonwealth Games, and some of you might have seen we just announced our Pan Am Esports Championships, which will be in Santiago, Chile next October 2023, 41 countries across the Americas. And as I said, Jasper, just before, I will be heading just in a few hours' time towards Asunción in Paraguay, where we'll be staging our South American Esports Championships. So what that really means, I think, for us is gaming, we all know, is really huge, $300 billion, some people say, and we know esports is growing, about $3 billion. We know that half the world's population games, but we know every single human plays games. I collect Starbucks points and really am obsessed about getting my free coffee every 20 points. So all of us are in this, like whether it's, Singapore Airlines miles, or whether it's, playing board games with the family, or whether it's playing games. What we believe is that humans were born to play games. We used to run around the park when we were young kids chasing our brothers and sisters. It's no surprise that during the Industrial Revolution that esports is here and gaming is here. And then as we start to look forward to the future of entertainment, what an exciting opportunity to bring brands in that connection and bring civil society, and governments also are really interested to talk to us to learn about how to connect society. And one of the other things we've been really proud about is how to help young people build sustainable careers. And we have launched our Global Esports Academy, but at the Global Esports Games in Istanbul in December, we'll do a formal launch of the Academy across 10 countries around the world. And in fact, His Royal Highness Prince Faisal, who's one of our vice presidents at the Global Esports Federation, is here. And he is also the chair of our Education, Culture and Youth Commission, and he heads up a lot of work around that space as well for us. So there's a lot to unpack in all of that, but basically it's about bringing gaming, esports, and the benefits of gaming and esports to the world, but also remembering to have fun, and also remembering that we see it through the lens of the future of entertainment.
And to do events that aren't in anywhere near each other, just make sure that everywhere is and there's a number of commissions within the Global Esports Federation. Yeah,
that's a really cool part of our organisation. We have 27. Our president is Singaporean Chris Chan, who's also Secretary General of the Singapore National Olympic Council. And we have 6 vice presidents from approximately one from each continent. And then we have a total board of 27, but we have 16 commissions and councils that has 170 experts on that really help us to think about some of the issues involved in gaming and esports, and also the adjacencies. And these are academics, these are medical physicians, these are scientists, these are athletes, these are gamers, these are entrepreneurs, these are marketeers. That help us think about that. So a lot of our deep work happens in those commissions and the councils. The commissions are sort of externally facing, whereas the councils are more internally facing. And one of the new commissions, in fact councils that we established this year, and the vice chair is with us, Mel Queck, is the Metaverse Council. So one of the pieces we do in the Global Esports Federation is establish a council with incredible experts, and we just think about it. We don't necessarily think we have to end there, we just start the conversation. So by convening people that have a level of expertise, it helps us. That's, I think, Jasper, where we've been able to be successful, if you determine that we're successful, 123 member federations in these 2 years, is to really think about connecting and listening and participating in that conversation.
Now, aside to the session we did before lunch, the last time we saw you was just under a year ago, and it was virtual. And as I think you touched on earlier, you've been pretty busy through that year, and that included the Commonwealth Games. Now, we have got a video to show, and maybe we can just dig a little deeper on that whole experience. But Roxy, if we could run the Commonwealth Games video. It's amazing to see the Singapore in December, 9 months ago, everyone's sitting meters apart and face masks on and all that kind of stuff. So tell us more about you touched on some of the numbers and what have you, but what were the real achievements of the Commonwealth Games for you?
Yeah, I think, thanks for the chance to share that with everyone. And amazing how much has changed in 10 months, as you said, with the distancing. But, here we did that in Singapore, and we did it. We realized that we needed to do it, and we did it. And so Singapore, for us, attracted 500 million views, 4.4 million live around the world. And just if I can, we go across to Istanbul. So we'll be 65 countries in Istanbul, more than 300 athletes there in Istanbul. So double what we were in Singapore, effectively, and live. So Commonwealth. So, a traditional organization for sure, right? The Commonwealth Games Federation, 100 years old in this incredible year in the United Kingdom. And we started a partnership 2 years ago and said, the Commonwealth Games Federation said, we've heard about esports, can you talk to us? And we spent time talking to them. We briefed their board. The Commonwealth, for those that don't know, have countries on every single continent, so it's really, really global, really, really diverse. Really started a journey thinking about how we could connect sport, traditional sports, with esports, or what I call esports and T-sports, traditional sports. So how we could connect those. They were really, really brave to listen and to think about it. And And I guess the numbers speak for themselves. So as I mentioned in the morning session, the BBC themselves came to see the Commonwealth Esports Championships in Birmingham and simply never left. In terms of content, they leaned in, they came in, they connected, and then the stories, and you saw a lot of the faces. What did I notice about that video? Happy faces. And one of the things I say to our team always, look at people in the eyes and look at their faces, and it will often tell you what's going on. And so these athletes to be able to stand up on a beautiful stage in Birmingham next to the Commonwealth Games and receive gold medals, silver medals, and bronze medals, or don't receive a medal, but to represent my country, my flag, my anthem without prize money, super, super cool.
And I saw, excuse me, quite a few Asian teams, Southeast Asian teams, Malaysia, Singapore, actually did really well.
Yeah, they did really well. And in fact, which is a nice sort of segue to the announcement we want to make, is that Asia for us really has been our garden, and it's no mistake that we're headquartered in Singapore. And as many people know, gaming and esports, I think, really the cradle is Asia. And so, Malaysia gold medal, 3 gold medals, and Singapore did so well as well. And, that's sort of like a very sport thing that just happened at the Global Esports Games in Singapore, where the very first gold medal went to the women's Dota team in Singapore. So we're very, very proud of that. And one of the things, Jasper, that our teams are now thinking about as they start to look at 23, 24 and beyond is actually starting our global esports tour, but within Southeast Asia. So that's the announcement that I talked about this morning. So despite our global esports games, our flagship property, we also have our marquee events around the world. We have tour series which are focused on single title, prize money, pure esports, the best athletes in the world, and we'll be starting that work back here in Southeast Asia next year.
Fantastic. Congratulations. And I guess that leads quite nicely into how important is Asia Pacific to the global. I mean, you're based in the US, but you're running a global organization, headquarters are here. How important is Asia Pacific to esports in general?
Well, I think it's really, the way I'd answer that is to say that as we develop around the world, we often use the reference point of Southeast Asia, and particularly Singapore, and Kelvin Tan's also here today, our Director of Esports, and who's also the Secretary General of the Singapore Esports Association. And oftentimes, as we've developed these 123 members around the world, oftentimes member federations start with, friends or some family members starting their federation, and we've invited them to work with Singapore to mentor them as they've grown. So that's been the role really of Singapore in particular, but Southeast Asia more generally, because it's so much more advanced than other parts of the world. And
tell us more about the whole world connected.
Isn't it cool? I love, every time you say that, it makes me smile. Just the idea about connecting, and so we created our motto through this notion of world connected, which is something that really, if you speak to any gamers or esports athletes around the world, they really talk about the notion of being connected with each other. So it seemed really powerful when we speak to brands, when we speak to companies, when we speak to NGOs and other organizations. This thing that they keep coming back to us on is 2 things. One, our 5 universal values that speak about equality, fair play, diversity, innovation, and inclusion. It lets us celebrate those. And we do that through this world of world connected. So the idea is that all of us in our organization, connect people constantly, something that you also do, Jasper, in your organization. We connect, and we're not that worried about the outcome of that connection. We sort of connect them and let people get on with their own journey. It's something we're very committed to, that notion of connecting humans. So, for example, our teams around the world, our 123 member federations, we have a monthly town hall. And obviously we do that virtually. For me in California, the price of constant sunshine is 6 a.m. So every single call's at 6 a.m. And of course that's 9 p.m. in Singapore, it's 10 p.m. in Japan. And everyone's online. 120, 130, 140 people are online, and we have a pretty strong rigor around not exceeding sort of 56 minutes. It's sort of, we keep it under an hour, but everyone's there, and the commitment to come back is really, really powerful, and people love that sense of connection.
And I mean, you're also doing a lot of good, right? I mean, I've met Kern Schobbers virtually a couple of times, but stuff like mental health and wellness and treating gamers as athletes is a very important part of GEF, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. We have Dr. Melita Moore, who you've also met with your organisation, Jasper at Branded, is on our board, and she's also the chair of our Health and Wellness Commission. The fact that we have a Health and Wellness Commission talks about that, and that thinks about mental health, physical health, and also societal health. And we're working with professional gaming organisations also to really understand the needs of athletes and players as the space develops and evolves and becomes more professional. Mental health has been something very important for us to think about and support, and we do this in tangible ways by talking about it. So at all of our events we talk about it, we have seminars about it, we have a level of engagement around it. But yeah, as you said, also treating these incredible humans as athletes in the sense of giving them the best possible conditions we can to thrive on global stages is really important for us. A quick example of how that's manifested and how it's grown from the Commonwealth is in the Pan Am Games next year in Santiago. The athletes will stay in the village. Our esports athletes will stay in the village with the athletes from the Pan Am Games. They will receive the same medals as the athletes from the Pan Am Games. They'll wear the same uniforms, so they wear their team uniforms, just like swimmers and track athletes will as well. So this idea about inclusion and diversity, and not only accepting but also celebrating, is manifested through those initiatives.
We've had a lot of conversations this year for our gaming academy, which we work with your team here, about the credibility of esports as a career. In this part of the world, you go to your parents and say, I want to work in esports, Mum. And she'll say, oh, sweet, now go and be an accountant. And that's not a joke, it's actually true. But have you seen anything coming through with World Connected or the Global Esports Federation that's helping create credibility for gaming?
Yeah, no, that's a really exciting part of our work is working with industry, but also working with the community as they start to think about what the future of work, right? So we have a terrific partnership with UNESCO, the United Nations Education, Science and Culture Organization out of Paris, and the 196 member states that are involved with UNESCO to think about esports and gaming as a career and what that would mean, right? So we created the Global Esports Academy to help unlock some of that potential. We're working with universities all around the world around that. We'll launch big time in Q1 2023 with the Academy. Singapore will be again one of the major hubs for the Academy. What we also understand by speaking to young people is that when some of us were younger and we went to school, we had careers for life, and that's changed. There's many examples of that. A quick one I'll give you is one of a senior sports official who was an engineer, and he wanted his son to be an engineer, and his son did go to engineering school and had a really miserable time. And he called me and he said, Paul, my son games and he wants to be in gaming, but I want him to be an engineer. And I said, well, come to LA and we'll go and hang out and we'll go and see some of the key players, and then come over to Orlando and we'll come and see some of the key players. And now his son goes to Full Sail University in Orlando, a major gaming institution and esports institution. And he called me the other day and he said, Paul, I want to say thank you to you because you gave me back a happy son. So the most important thing, that's quite emotional for me. So he said one of the most powerful things that happened, you gave me back a happy son. So I had a pretty miserable son struggling with engineering, and now I've got a really happy son having the time of his life, having learned English through playing Fortnite, having created 400 friends, and on a destiny to have a great career. Fantastic,
what a nice story. So final question. Which I kind of asked it earlier, but where do you see is the next step for the Global Esports Federation? I know you're doing a lot of events literally all over the world, but how are you going to grow, and what's the next part of the story?
Yeah, I think we call it GEF 3.0. So if you think about 1.0, 2.0 into 3.0, and I'll let others talk about metaverse, but for me, it's really now going to be, especially I think in the end part of this year and early next year, as clouds are looming around economic conditions and things like that, is really around us creating stable, sustainable events and also investment opportunities for the brands that work with us. So really getting back to some of those, what I would call business fundamentals, and making sure that the house is well in order. And we think that when we do that, it's also good for the whole community, right? So making sure that we stay very close to our partners, making sure we stay very close to our community, providing resources to our member federations around the world to do what they need to do. So that stability piece is something that I want to get into. So we've been, as you said, like a lot of growth, right? So around the world, lots of events, and you can keep doing that. But there's a chance to also take I wouldn't say a step back, but make sure that they're sustainable, make sure that the fundamentals are there so that we can set the pathway for 10 years and beyond. Fantastic.
Well, we're out of time. I don't know if I'm going to be interviewing you again this afternoon, but I know you've got to jump on a plane to go a very long way. So Paul, thank you again for travelling all the way here to join us, to be with everyone today, and good luck with the trip.
Thanks everyone. Good luck. Thanks.